Our story begins with a middle school student named Shizuki. One day, when he enters his classroom, he overhears a group of girls discussing him. They mention to one girl that they've seen her talking to Shizuki, and they think of him as a creep. The girl responds that Shizuki is disgusting, plain and simple, but adds that associating with someone beneath them makes them look better. The other girls comment on her dark demeanor, and hearing this, Shizuki feels very sad. This memory from Shizuki's past reveals how he discovered the harsh reality behind beauty and realized his low status, leaving him broken. In the present, Shizuki is in class when a classmate approaches and tells him they need to go to the cafeteria. Shizuki politely says he'll join them after finishing his notes. The classmate comments that Shizuki writes slowly, but Shizuki explains it's difficult to see from the back of the class. The classmate agrees and warns Shizuki to hurry or Haruna will take his seat. Shizuki nods in agreement. Once the classmate leaves, Shizuki feels pleased that his plan worked perfectly. He reflects on his fresh start in high school and how he worked hard to improve his social standing. After just a week, he's become part of the social middle class he always wanted, a significant improvement from his low status in middle school. He recalls taking entrance exams for a prestigious school, so no one knows about his troubled past except one person, Shizuka Kusini, a girl from his middle school rumored to be the most beautiful in her year. As soon as she arrived, stories circulated about her being confessed to and being a model. Shizuki hasn't spoken to Kusini directly but believes he knows her well enough. Despite being in different classes, they used to visit the library together, so they're familiar with each other. At this moment, Shizuki sees Kusini surrounded by some boys. He reminds himself that he decided to avoid beautiful women and firmly believes it's best not to involve himself with Kusini. He leaves the classroom, thinking that even though they both came from the bottom class, they probably won't discuss their past. As Shizuki walks, he notices Kusini following him and suddenly stepping in front of him, calling out loudly for him to wait and help her. Everyone around looks on, but she only addresses Shizuki. He is stunned, unsure how to react, and worries about what she wants from him. Tears well up in Kusini's eyes as she apologizes with a heavy heart. Shizuki is taken aback by her unexpected behavior. She explains that she is in trouble and needs Shizuki's help because they share a middle school background. With a cute smile, she mentions that it's been a while and notes how much he has changed. Shizuki, surprised and anxious, loudly replies that she has changed a lot too, shocking Kusini. Realizing his outburst, Shizuki quickly calms himself, but Kusini, concerned, asks if he's okay. It appears he has triggered his symptoms. Ever since his heart was broken by a beautiful woman, he has suffered from mysterious health issues. Shizuki reassures her that he's fine and suggests they move to the park since it's too crowded here. They sit on a bench in the park. Kusini explains that although she changed her appearance, she couldn't change what's inside. She's been trying to avoid conversations but is running out of energy. Shizuki wonders if she came to him for advice because they went to the same middle school, and Kusini confirms this. Shizuki reflects on how he might have managed if he hadn't looked into her eyes and tries to comfort her, saying he isn't good at communication either. Kusini, confused, tells him that's not true, praising him for interacting normally with everyone and making friends, which she admires. Shizuki, also confused, points out that she had friends too, but Kusini sadly admits that she doesn't have any, surprising Shizuki. She tells him she doesn't consider Shuki's friends to be real friends just because they talk to him. As for the girls in class, it seems they are avoiding her. Shizuki is amazed and looks at her curiously. He realizes that from an outsider's point of view, she is surrounded by boys, which could leave a bad impression. He thinks she looked like a big success and didn't expect her situation to be like his. Kusini mentions that if she can change her appearance but not what's inside, there is no point. She tells him she was alone in middle school because she was a bad person. As he looks at her, he suddenly remembers his own past. Abruptly, he stands up from the bench and loudly tells her to be more confident. Kusini is completely surprised by this revelation and asks her why she wanted to make a high school debut. He adds that changing her appearance so much means she put in a lot of effort. He urges her to take small steps and assures her that if she gets used to talking and communicating, it will come to her easily. As Shizuki is shouting at her, he suddenly realizes he is looking into her eyes and talking without feeling sick. Shizuki picks up his bag and starts to leave, but Kusini quickly stops him and asks him to wait. Shizuki is shocked and turns back to face her. She asks how she should take small steps. He politely suggests that if she can make one friend, talking to the rest will be easy. Out of nowhere, she asks if he would like to be friends with her. Shizuki looks at her, shocked. She clarifies that he is someone she can talk to and begins begging him to be friends with her. Shizuki, confused, wonders why she wants to be friends with him. He questions why he should help her, thinking that if Kusini improved her communication skills, she would only become more popular, eventually causing her personality to shift as she gradually realizes where she stands. Shizuki realizes that everything he thought is true, but if he rejects her offer, she will be alone. When he looks at her face, he sees her sad expression. Seeing Shizuki accepts her offer. Kusini is stunned and tears well up in her eyes as she happily thanks him for his kindness. Shizuki tells her that while they will be friends, it's only a temporary arrangement until she makes other friends. Kusini smiles sweetly and says she is still happy. Looking at her face, Shizuki is confused and wonders if there's something special about her eyes and if he is cured. Kusini thanks him again, calling him a friend, and says she feels good to have met him. Shizuki thinks he doesn't fully understand it, but if it doesn't cause symptoms, it's a good thing. He also considers that although they are now friends, their relationship won't change much. The next day at school, during break time, Shizuki sits at his seat for lunch when Kusini suddenly comes over and sits at the same table. Shizuki feels angered, thinking that just because they are friends doesn't mean they should sit across from each other. He wonders what she is thinking. When other students see them, they start talking about the two. Some girls whisper that Kusini is quick to attach herself to him, while some guys wonder why Shizuki is with her. Shizuki is astonished, thinking everyone is misunderstanding everything. With a smile and polite demeanor, Kusini tells him she always wanted to eat with a friend like this. Shizuki is shocked by her words. Some of Shuki's friends come over, teasing him and saying they are going to the cafeteria on their own, encouraging him to take his time and enjoy the moment. Shizuki becomes more frustrated. He turns to Kusini to say something, but she politely asks what's wrong. Instead, he puts his head on the table and sadly says he has nothing to say. Feeling sorry for Kusini, who has never eaten with a friend before, he decides to play along with this friend's game just for today. With a cute face, Kusini asks if she can call him K from now on. Shizuki, perplexed, gives her permission and comments that she can do what she wants. He stands up and says he will go buy drinks for them. Kusini says she will go with him. He didn't yet realize how his dream of a peaceful high school life was about to be turned upside down. While walking through the hallway, he encounters an even bigger threat, his bully from middle school. Shizuki starts feeling symptoms again. Kusini, worried, asks if he is alright. He turns around and looks at her, horrified, unable to believe this is happening. The person who caused his trauma is standing in front of him. He had searched the class roster and didn't see her name. Another girl calls out to Hua, asking about the situation. She turns to Shizuki and asks if he's alright. Shizuki quickly hides his face, saying he is fine. Hua then turns to Kusini and asks if she is his friend. Kusini replies yes. Hua suggests that Shizuki doesn't look well and might need to go to the infirmary. She steps closer and asks him to take care of himself before leaving. Shizuki watches her, feeling confused by her eyes, voice, and the ribbon in her hair. He realizes there's no mistaking it, she is definitely the same person. He holds his head in anxiety, thinking that his peaceful high school days are now over. Kusini suggests they go to the infirmary, offering to carry him if he can't walk, but Shizuki, still focused on Hua, loudly declares he won't let things end like this. Kusini is surprised by Shizuki's sudden behavior. Shizuki adds that he isn't going to let her ruin his life and explains that he made a fresh start in high school for a reason. He remarks that he said goodbye to her in the past. When Shizuki loudly declares that's all, Kusini is stunned and doesn't understand what's going on but agrees with everything he says out of fear. Kusini then asks if he is feeling better now. Shizuki replies that he is fine. He realizes that if he stays focused on his school life, it shouldn't be a problem. He is determined to maintain the peaceful school life he has finally achieved. As school ends and everyone is in the classroom, Kusini approaches Shizuki with a cute expression and asks if they can go home together. This is a big challenge for Shizuki. When the other students hear this, they are all surprised. Meanwhile, Shizuki starts stammering. Kusini asks if he has to go somewhere else. Shizuki lies and replies yes. She then gives him a sweet smile and says that if that's the case, it's fine. Shizuki feels guilty, thinking Kusini's smile is too bright. Some boys from his class come over, teasing that going home together sounds fun. Shizuki starts sweating, and one boy places a hand on his shoulder, commenting on how he seems to be on good terms with Kusini. Another boy asks if Shizuki is going out with her. Stunned and nervous, Shizuki replies that they are not going out and starts running away. The boys watch him leave, remarking on how it's a shame he's going home today. They then invite Kusini to join them instead. Later, Shizuki walks through the streets in a bad mood, muttering about how nothing good is going to happen today and feeling bad for leaving Kusini behind. As he walks, Kusini suddenly calls out to him from behind. Surprised, Shizuki sees her and she greets him respectfully. Confused and worried, Shizuki asks why she's there. She replies that she was chasing him and comments that she's very tired. Shizuki asks if she was running to catch up with him and wonders why she went so far with a cute smile. She says she wanted to go home with him. Nervously, Shizuki puts his hand on his face and she asks if he dislikes it. He replies that he doesn't dislike it, but he loudly tells her that it's not normal for a man and a woman to go home together. Kusini is shocked. He adds that even eating lunch together isn't ideal for them. She asks why it looks so bad. He explains that people might misunderstand their relationship. After saying this, he continues on his way and tells her not to talk too much. In the classroom, Shizuki feels like Kusini understands his point. She calls out to him again, saying she hasn't had the chance to talk to many people and asks for advice on creating more opportunities to interact with others. Shizuki feels bad for her. Kusini then politely asks if she can call him at night from now on. Shizuki looks back at her and loudly asks if she means a phone call. She confirms and explains that talking on the phone avoids misunderstandings. She repeats her request. Shizuki thinks calling a female friend at night is not appropriate and wonders if she's being odd or if he's overthinking the situation. Kusini continues to ask politely, and Shizuki looks at her, confused. Later, Shizuki is at home, lying on his bed and looking at his phone. It's 2:35 a.m. He glances at Kusini's phone number saved in his contacts and thinks about her request. He was confused at the time but agreed to it. Now, both have each other's numbers saved. When Kusini sees Shizuki's number, she is amazed and politely asks if she can call him that night. Shizuki is initially surprised but agrees, mentioning he'll call her himself. She agrees and says she'll wait for his call. Shizuki says this because he needs to prepare himself. Kusini, with a cute smile, tells him she'll be waiting. Shizuki lies on his bed, thinking about what to do next. He doesn't really want to make the call and is unsure what to talk about, especially since he hasn't spoken to her in so long. He sets the alarm for 10 minutes, deciding to talk to her for only 10 minutes. He makes the call. When Shizuki calls, he starts with a "hello" and introduces himself. Kusini responds with her name. Shizuki apologizes for calling so late, and Kusini reassures him and thanks him for calling. After that, Shizuki falls silent, realizing he's being awkward and needs to say something. He begins with small talk, asking if it's colder tonight compared to yesterday. Kusini replies that it is. Shizuki adds that he's really bad with cold weather and asks about her preference. Kusini simply replies that she doesn't mind. Shizuki feels uncomfortable, thinking she isn't giving much detail. Noticing there are only 5 minutes left, he decides to choose a safe topic and asks her about her hobbies. Kusini replies that she likes watching anime and reading manga. Shizuki is surprised by her choice and says he enjoys the same things. He asks what genre she likes, and she explains in great detail. After her lengthy explanation, Shizuki feels uncomfortable, thinking she's become very talkative. When discussing her favorite series, he comments that she sounds like a stereotypical otaku. Kusini asks if he has a favorite manga. Shizuki thinks about his childhood favorite and tells her he likes a manga called *Noah. She replies that she also likes it and mentions she owns all the volumes. Suddenly, the alarm clock starts ringing. Shizuki looks at it and Kusini asks what the sound is. Shizuki tells her it's nothing and asks if she's heard the rumor about the third part being serialized next year. Kusini becomes more curious and asks for all the details. The next day, while Shizuki is sitting in class and feeling dizzy, he checks his phone and notices the call timer from his conversation with Kusini. He's surprised to see it lasted 1 hour and 32 minutes. He's confused about how it went on for so long and feels a bit unsettled, thinking it's because he's an otaku at heart too. Suddenly, Kusini enters the classroom looking gloomy. Shizuki is surprised and wonders what might have happened since she was so cheerful yesterday. He shakes his head, deciding he doesn't need to worry about it, and decides to try avoiding her during school hours. Despite this, he can't help glancing at her. When school lets out and everyone is getting ready to go home, Shizuki calls out to Kusini in the corridor. He approaches her, and she asks if something is wrong. He replies that it's nothing but feels unsure about what to say. Eventually, he calmly tells her that she seems very down today. Even though he had intended to avoid saying anything, he realizes that if he doesn't speak up, it will be even more awkward. As Kusini begins to talk about their phone call from yesterday, she realizes she spoke the entire time with a sad expression and apologizes to Shizuki, her face showing regret. Shizuki is stunned by her reaction and thinks she's feeling down because of this. He reassures her that their phone calls are meant to help her get used to talking and that it's not a big deal. Despite this, Kusini remains sad, saying the conversation felt very one-sided and that she feels awful about it. Shizuki feels bad for her and kindly tells her not to apologize. He adds that their conversation was surprisingly enjoyable. She is surprised by his comment. Suddenly, Shizuki's friends Harino and Suji arrive, startling him. They ask what he's doing and mention they were looking for him because he suddenly disappeared. They come closer and ask if they're interrupting. One of them adds that Shizuki seems to be forgetting his friends. Shizuki politely assures them that it's not like that. Harino then asks what exactly his relationship with Kusini is. Shizuki bids farewell to Kusini, leaving her surprised by his abrupt behavior. He tells her to go home, and she agrees. His friends look disappointed and ask if he's really not going with Kusini. They apologize for their earlier remarks. Shizuki reassures them that he's already mentioned he's not involved in such things. Meanwhile, as Kusini heads home, she suddenly stops and turns back. She calls out to Shizuki with a cheerful smile, saying she also had a lot of fun last night, and wishes him goodbye. Shizuki and his friends are left completely surprised. Shizuki worries about what his friends will say next. His friends look at him with annoyance and teasingly remark that it seems he had a lot of fun last night. Shizuki explains that nothing like that happened and insists it's all a misunderstanding. In class, Harino sternly asks Shizuki if he really hasn't done anything with Cassini. Shizuki tries to stay calm and repeats that they don't have that kind of relationship. Harino admits he doesn't fully trust him. Shizuki thinks they're giving him a headache and notes that Cassini's vague words are to blame. Suji adds that Shizuki is the only guy Cassini calls by his first name and they both seem unusually close. Suji then comments that in his opinion, they look quite close. Harino agrees. Shizuki explains that he and Cassini just happen to attend the same middle school and she's the girl he's closest to among his friends. Harino is surprised they went to the same middle school and says Shizuki is lucky, commenting that Cassini must have been very pretty back then and wishing he had seen her. Hearing this, Shizuki stands up and loudly tells him to stop and end the conversation. The guys look at him in confusion. Harino then says he wants to get along with Cassini too and asks if Shizuki can arrange for them to have lunch together. Shizuki firmly declines, thinking it's out of the question since Cassini struggles with communication and Harino can't sit still. As Shizuki comes down the stairs, the thought of Cassini and Harino meeting gives him a headache. He realizes that if they could get along, he wouldn't need to worry about Cassini making friends. He thinks that if he can make this happen, one threat to his peaceful high school life will be removed. Just then, from the other side of the corridor, he approaches and they bump into each other, causing her books to fall. Shizuki apologizes and asks if she's okay. He, sitting on the floor, comments that they keep bumping into each other and adds with a cute smile that they seem to have a habit of meeting like this. Suddenly, Shizuki bows his head and starts shouting in frustration. He is surprised by his reaction. Suji arrives and observes the scene, noting that Shizuki seems to be having quite a meltdown. Suji comes closer and asks what happened. He explains that she thinks Shizuki suddenly got sick. Suji is stunned by this. He then turns to Shizuki and politely asks if he can stand. She asks Suji to help her pick up the scattered books. As they assist Shizuki and gather the books, he comments that they are such good friends and with a sweet smile, tells Shizuki to take care of himself as she leaves. Suji suddenly grabs Shizuki and asks if he's friends with her. Shizuki, trembling, insists that Suji is mistaken and that he has no connection with her. He asks Suji if he knows he. Suji replies that he does and mentions he knows all about the pretty girls in their year. He explains that he is from class 8 and is rumored to be the second prettiest girl in their year. He then asks who the first prettiest girl is. Suji says that the prettiest girl is Cassini. Shizuki turns to him with attitude and asks if that's why he should be grateful for getting along with Cassini. Suji replies that he'd also like a chance to get to know her better and asks Shizuki to help him out. Shizuki agrees to ask Cassini. Later, Shizuki calls Cassini and asks if they can have lunch together. She declines, saying she isn't interested. Shizuki is surprised and asks if she's really rejecting his offer. Cassini confirms. Shizuki is surprised by her flat rejection. Cassini asks what he wanted to discuss. Shizuki explains that he wants her to see it as a crash course to improve her communication skills and notes that she has nothing to lose by participating. Cassini clarifies that when she mentioned eating together, she meant only Harino would be joining them. Shizuki adds that Suji will also be there and politely asks if Cassini is comfortable with having more people around. He assures Cassini that Hiro will be a better friend than he is. To Shizuki's surprise, Cassini disagrees, saying that if they're having lunch together, he should be there too. Her sadness is evident. Shizuki notices her downcast expression and asks if she's upset with him, also apologizing for causing her distress. Cassini says she's going to sleep and hangs up. Shizuki looks at his phone, noting the call lasted about 15 minutes, and wonders if she's angry or if he said something wrong. Meanwhile, Cassini sits on the floor, feeling deeply saddened. The next day, Shizuki and Cassini head to the cafeteria to eat, joined by Suji and Hiro. As they sit around the table, Hiro remarks that the food tastes particularly delicious today. He turns to Suji for his opinion, but Suji, with his usual nonchalance, simply says the food isn't that great, sipping his juice casually. Shizuki observes the group, noting Hiro's excitement and Cassini's quiet and sad demeanor. He wonders if she's okay, noticing she hasn't spoken a word. Hiro then asks Cassini if she attended the same middle school as Shizuki. Cassini is taken aback by the question. Shizuki explains that while they did go to the same middle school, they were in different classes and only started talking in high school. Suji remarks that this means they haven't been friends for long. Hiro, standing up with a confused smile, expresses a desire to be friends with Cassini. He extends his hand for a handshake and asks for her contact information, offering to give her his number in return. The suddenness of Hiro's behavior stuns everyone into silence. Cassini doesn't respond, leading Hiro to realize she is ignoring him. He quickly apologizes for his sudden approach. Shizuki, watching the scene, turns to Cassini and reassures her that it's fine, suggesting that Hiro is a serious and nice guy. Cassini, trusting Shizuki, agrees with him and comments that if Shizuki says so, she can do it. Suji and Hiro are astonished by her response. Hiro thanks Cassini for her kindness and says he will be back shortly to get his phone, which he left in the classroom. Later, Shizuki and Hiro stand together. Hiro sincerely thanks Shizuki for helping him build a friendship with Cassini. Shizuki modestly comments that he didn't do much, but Hiro insists it's all thanks to him. He admits he never thought he'd be able to exchange contact information with Cassini. Shizuki smiles, noting Hiro's evident delight and thinking he genuinely likes Cassini. Shizuki then politely asks if they're finished and if they should head back to the classroom. Hiro has one more request: he wants Shizuki and Cassini to have lunch together. Shizuki agrees and sends a message to Cassini on Hiro's behalf, feeling a surge of irritation because Hiro should have asked Cassini himself. Shizuki wonders why Hiro would still want Cassini's number if he's too shy to ask for lunch directly. In class, Shizuki notices Cassini has seen his message but appears sad and doesn't speak. He's puzzled and wonders if she's ignoring him or if he did something wrong. As school ends and Suji approaches to say goodbye, Shizuki returns the farewell in silence while Cassini grabs her bag and heads outside. Shizuki realizes Cassini has been acting strangely since their phone call and her behavior at lunch was no different. Feeling anxious, he decides not to let Cassini's mood affect him. Outside, Shizuki follows Cassini and, with a polite but apprehensive expression, asks why she's ignoring him. Cassini replies that it was he who said she shouldn't talk to him at school. Shizuki feels guilty, realizing that Cassini might be right about him pushing her away. He acknowledges that he treated her as insignificant and recalls his own childhood experience of being rejected when he sought friendship. Shizuki apologizes sincerely and asks for Cassini's forgiveness. Cassini, still sad, admits she isn't good at talking to boys and was bullied in middle school, which made boys seem intimidating. She adds that Shizuki is an exception and not like the others. She explains that she feels at ease with him and that's why she's okay with him being her only male friend, even though she wants more friends. Shizuki sits beside her, starts crying, and promises to stop trying so hard to find other friends for her. Cassini thanks him, and both of their hearts race as they talk. Cassini reveals this is her first disagreement with a friend and Shizuki realizes it's his first with a female friend, which is why his heart is pounding. Cassini stands up and asks if they can continue talking, even at school. Shizuki agrees, and Cassini walks away with a happy heart. Shizuki watches her, puzzled by his intense feelings and wondering if there might be another reason for his racing heart. The next day, a teacher announces a traditional dodgeball tournament to help students get to know each other. Shizuki feels anxious about being chosen and worries about embarrassing himself. He also realizes that Cassini might be there too, which makes him even more nervous. As he draws his lot, he prays he won't be picked. After drawing lots, Shizuki and the others sit on the stairs, with Shizuki in a sad mood while Suji and Hiro are in high spirits. Hiro, showing enthusiasm, urges everyone to get excited, despite not being on the team himself. Suji and Shizuki remain calm, prompting Hiro to get a little angry and tell them not to ignore him. Just then, Kusunoki arrives and calls out to Shizuki, mentioning that she finally found him. She is dressed casually. Shizuki is stunned when he sees her. Kosini explains that the teachers are about to go over the rules and want all team members to come to the gym. Kusunoki asks Shizuki if he wants to go with her. Before he can respond, Hanano quickly says that Shizuki will go and orders him to go right now. Surprised, Shizuki realizes that Kusunoki must have been chosen too. He tells her he hasn't finished eating yet, so she can go ahead. Hanano sternly warns him that he doesn't have the right to decline Kusunoki's invitations and insists he go immediately. Reluctantly, Shizuki agrees and goes with Kusunoki. As they walk, Kusunoki asks if he's sure it's okay. He reassures her and tells her not to worry about it. When Shizuki looks at her properly, he notices her face is shining. He comments that she looks kind of excited. Kusunoki is surprised to hear this. Shizuki explains that he thought she might not like these kinds of events and is surprised she's into them. With a confused expression, she admits she doesn't usually like them but adds with a smile that this time might be fun because they'll be playing together. Shizuki is astonished by her words and suddenly feels hot, thinking it must be a particularly warm day. They reach the area where everyone is gathered, and the teacher announces that Class A's first match is against Class B. Shizuki becomes anxious and comments that he can't handle it. Suddenly, Hanano appears and chides Shizuki for giving up before the match has even started, ordering him to show some fighting spirit. Shizuki is stunned to see Hanano there and asks why he's there since he's not playing. Hanano explains that he switched with someone who didn't want to play and adds that his greatest desire is to personally protect Kusunoki. Shizuki thinks if that's the case, then why didn't Hanano switch with him? Meanwhile, some of the guys approach Hanano, insisting that they also want to protect Kusunoki and commenting on Hanano's cockiness. Hanano, angered, turns to Shizuki and warns him that he's wrong if he thinks he can beat him. Shizuki, confused, asks if they're not supposed to be teammates. As they argue, some girls in the corner watch them. The girls question why the guys are being so annoying. Kusunoki overhears their conversation. One girl comments that everything is happening because of Kusunoki and that the boys in their class are all idiots. Another girl agrees, saying Kusunoki is at the center of it all and adds that from what she can tell, Kusunoki is a man-eater. Hearing this, Kusunoki feels deeply saddened and lowers her head in shame. Shizuki notices her distress and approaches her, worried. He politely asks Kusunoki if something is wrong. She gives herself a quick slap and assures him that she's fine. After a while, the teams line up. Shizuki looks around anxiously as the teacher announces that the match between Class A and Class B is about to begin. Hanano is visibly excited, but Shizuki is preoccupied with worry about Haiwa. He scans the opposing team and realizes she's neither with her team nor behind the lines. He wonders if she didn't come to school today, feeling a sense of unease. Shizuki silently thanks God, feeling a surge of relief that Haiwa hadn't shown up until now. His genuine happiness fades as he sees Haiwa approaching, with her smiling face apologizing for the delay. She explains that it took her some time to change clothes but hopes it's all right now. The teacher, pleased with her dramatic entrance despite the delay, instructs everyone to line up. As Shizuki watches Haiwa, he starts sweating and becomes increasingly anxious. He mutters that he couldn't ask for more, feeling a deep sense of dread. Reminding himself to stay calm and rational, Shizuki resolves to act quickly as the match begins. With the game underway, Shizuki positions himself to catch the ball, but suddenly, Hanano steps in front of him and grabs it. Hanano apologizes, saying that today is his moment to shine. Shizuki feels a surge of anger and frustration. Hanano adds that he needs to impress Kusunoki with his skills. He throws the ball to hit an opponent, but it unexpectedly slips from his hand and heads straight for Haiwa. Both Hanano and Shizuki are stunned. Just as the ball is about to hit Haiwa, another player rushes in and blocks it, saving her from impact. The player, with a lot of attitude, declares that he will protect Haiwa and assures her he'll deal with anyone who targets her. Haiwa thanks him with a sweet smile. Fueled by anger, the player hurls the ball powerfully at Hanano, sending him crashing hard to the ground. Shizuki watches in concern as Hanano collapses. Meanwhile, the opposing team members assert that they're not going to lose and aggressively engage in the game, hitting each other with the ball and even targeting the girls, causing chaos on the field. After some time, all the players are out of the game except for Shizuki and Kusunoki on one side, and Haiwa with the player who saved her on the other. Shizuki scans the field, searching for a chance to grab the ball and make a play. The other players cheer loudly, marveling at how it's come down to just these four. Frustrated, Shizuki thinks to himself that this is the end game, and he's still stuck in it. He wonders what he should do next. From the sidelines, Hanano shouts at him, urging him to play hard and make sure Kusunoki doesn't get hurt. Shizuki realizes they've come this far and needs to play with everything he's got. Shizuki feels conflicted about having to cover for Kusunoki while also defending her. His hands seem tied as he mulls over the situation. Suddenly, Kusunoki steps forward bravely in front of the opposing player. Shizuki is taken aback and urgently tells her not to stand so close, stressing that it's too dangerous. The opposing player hurls the ball at Kusunoki, declaring that he won't hold back just because she's a girl. As the ball hurtles toward her, Shizuki rushes forward and jumps in front of her, taking the full force of the impact. He crashes to the ground in pain, lamenting that he couldn't catch the ball and questioning what kind of person throws such a hard shot at a girl. Reflecting on his earlier remarks about Kusunoki, Shizuki realizes that if he hadn't intervened, the ball would have hit her very hard. Kusunoki approaches him with a concerned expression, apologizing and noticing a painful scratch on his arm. She insists he should go to the nurse's office immediately. Shizuki reassures her that he's fine and advises her to stay clear of the aggressive player, suggesting she play more defensively for her own safety. Despite this, Kusunoki stands up, retrieves the ball, and declares that she's going to avenge Shizuki. With determination, she hurls the ball at the player who injured him. The impact is so powerful that the player falls to the ground and loses consciousness. The entire field is stunned by the intensity of her throw, and the other players are in disbelief. The teacher announces that Kusunoki's performance was incredible, taking out 2 players on her own, and declares Class A the winners. Kusunoki turns to Shizuki with a sweet smile. Completely taken aback, reflecting on whether Kusunoki was always this formidable. He mutters that things turned out better than he expected. Meanwhile, some girls check on Haiwa, commenting on Kusunoki's wild card status. One girl approaches Haiwa with a laugh, hoping her arm isn't broken. Haiwa glares at her and angrily asks why she's laughing, causing the girl to quickly apologize. Later, as Shizuki and his friends walk together, Tsuji remarks that he never expected them to win the match. Hanano, in high spirits, praises Kusunoki for her impressive performance. Shizuki feels a twinge of sadness and suddenly remembers he forgot to greet Kusunoki. He plans to go over, but Tsuji suggests he might as well forget it, noting something odd is happening. Shizuki turns to see a crowd of guys gathered around Kusunoki, eager to praise her bravery. Surprised by her newfound popularity, Shizuki decides that maybe he should step in and help her out, seeing the crowd around her. Kusunoki remarks on her newfound popularity, and Tsuji agrees, noting that Kusunoki seems like the main character while they feel like minor players from different worlds. Tsuji nudges Hanano, suggesting they leave to avoid bothering Kusunoki further. As they head out, Shizuki watches Kusunoki with a melancholic expression, reflecting on Tsuji's words about being from different worlds. Lost in thought, Kusunoki approaches Shizuki, asking if she has upset him. Startled, Shizuki explains that he was frightened and needed a moment to catch his breath. Kusunoki notes that it seemed like he was avoiding her and reassures him that he is never a bother to her. She admits feeling overwhelmed by the crowd and had hoped he would reach out to her. Shizuki realizes what she means and is moved by her openness. Kusunoki lowers her head and lets out a small cry. Concerned, Shizuki asks if something is wrong, and Kusunoki looks up with a sweet smile, saying she feels relieved now that they've talked. Shizuki expresses his happiness about their conversation. Kusunoki then asks if she can put their friendship on hold for a bit, which confuses Shizuki. She explains that if she doesn't, she might have to end her friendship with him, recalling his earlier comment that their bond would be temporary if she made new friends. Shizuki acknowledges he had forgotten about that and comments that Kusunoki might be a bit selfish for wanting to spend more time with him. Kusunoki admits that she likes him and that he is her first friend. Shizuki is puzzled by whether her feelings are about friendship or something more but reassures her that it doesn't bother him. Kusunoki excitedly shouts into the phone, thrilled at the prospect of continuing their friendship. Later, Kusunoki shares with Shizuki that she has made a new friend, Risa Hayawa from Class B. Shizuki is shocked by the name and reacts loudly, which surprises Kusunoki. The next day at school, Shizuki sits in silence, looking troubled. Suji and Hanano notice his unusual demeanor. Shizuki reflects on his concerns that Hayawa's different personality might cause issues and worries about Kusunoki being bullied. Hiro suddenly exclaims that Kusunoki and Hayawa are chatting together, noting how close they seem. Suji is puzzled, mentioning that this is the first time he's seen Kusunoki with other girls. Hiro remarks that only the most beautiful and academically gifted students could form such a friendship. Shizuki vehemently disagrees, causing Suji to wonder what's going on. Later, as Shizuki and Kusunoki clean a school hallway, Kusunoki informs Shizuki that she plans to hang out with Hayawa on Sunday. Shizuki is stunned, feeling a pang of sadness and wondering if they have grown too close. He then asks Kusunoki if she has discussed their middle school experiences with Hayawa yet. Kusunoki responds that she hasn't yet discussed their middle school with Hayawa. Shizuki feels relieved, thinking that if it becomes known that Kusunoki and he attended the same middle school, not only could Kusunoki face trouble, but his own position might also be at risk. As they talk, Shizuki notices some girls chatting upstairs. He calls Kusunoki over to a secluded corner under the stairs, where they can speak privately. Shizuki gently advises her not to mention their middle school to Hayawa, as Hayawa also attended the same school. Kusunoki is surprised by this revelation. Shizuki explains that Hayawa's name back then was Takagaki. He asks Kusunoki if she remembers Hayawa from middle school. Kusunoki shakes her head, saying she doesn't know Hayawa as she didn't interact much with anyone back then. Shizuki advises her that if Hayawa finds out about their shared middle school, it could lead to significant trouble, so she should avoid discussing anything related to middle school with Hayawa. Kusunoki agrees with Shizuki's advice and understands that if Hayawa brings up middle school, she should try to change the subject. As Shizuki starts to leave, Kusunoki calls him back and asks if she can contact him later that evening, even though it's not a practice day. She mentions she has something she wants to ask him. When Shizuki asks if she can ask now, Kusunoki replies that she can't say it at the moment but will send him a picture when she gets home. She adds that since it's a bit embarrassing, he should make sure to look at it when he's alone. Shizuki is stunned and surprised by her words.